Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Young Entrepreneur Mindset Podcast. I am your host, Angel, coming to you live today on this beautiful Monday. That's right, happy Mindset Monday. Listen, I hope you guys had a great weekend, ready for another fantastic week. And thank you for tuning in. If you're taking your time to download this via iHeartRadio, Pandora, um, all the other platforms, wherever you could get your podcast, your music, Spotify, whatnot. As you see there in the screen for those of you watching via video, right? Then you see it on the screen. Those are the platforms that this wonderful podcast is. So you can also follow me on Twitter under Angel Santos 75 and Instagram under Angel Santos Podcast. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for being here. Thank you for your time, for subscribing to the channel. I greatly appreciate your support. It's been a great journey doing this podcast, getting to know fantastic people, man, getting to know so many entrepreneurs, business coaches, uh, people who started from the very bottom and are working their way up and whatnot. So, listen, if you're that entrepreneur that you have some kind of idea, maybe you already took off, right? You've seen good results, right? Everyone wants to see good results. So, listen, best of luck to you. But I have more content. There's so much content on this platform, on this channel of the Young Entrepreneur Mindset Podcast. I invite you to go ahead and tune in to other content on how to get your business started, how to get your business with the right laws. I've spoken with attorneys on how to get anything copyrighted, all those things that maybe you think is not important, but it is important in any type of entrepreneurship business. So today, guys, I want you to tune in all the way to the end because today I have a special guest. Okay, his name is Kyle, and he is a business mindset coach. He's a business coach. He's a coach in general, but he has an amazing story. And Kyle today is going to be talking with us, sharing what he calls the SAGE mindset. Now, that's an acronym for S.A.G.E. And he's going to explain about that, what he's doing today. But first, we're going to be talking about how he got started, right? I love to hear people's story, how they got started, what was their struggles, their challenges at the beginning, and how they didn't give up, right? Because there's times where we run into so many walls, right? So many bumps along the road that we just tend to like, man, the entrepreneurship, this thing's not for me. But no, hang in there, guys. I encourage you to hang in there, keep at it. This is one day at a time, all right, guys? So with that being said, I want you guys to help me welcome Mr. Kyle Gillette. How you doing, sir?
Hey Angel, thanks for having me. I'm doing great.
Great, man. And nothing to do with Gillette razors, okay? He's not the inventor of the Gillette razor, okay?
Nope.
If he was, he probably wouldn't even have the conversation with me right now.
I don't know, man. There's so much wisdom in everyone I meet, and I'm sure there's powerful wisdom coming from you too.
Oh man, thank you, man. I appreciate it, Kyle. I thank you so much, man. Listen, first of all, thank you for your time, man. Thank you for joining us today, my audience. I know that uh, your story is amazing. I know you're gonna be able to share it with us. I know Sage mindset. It's something that maybe not a lot of people are gonna be familiar with. Maybe never heard it, but I hope that with this platform, right, with this through this channel, through the audio, then I'm going to be sharing your website and your link and whatnot, so people could maybe connect with you. But thank you again, man. Thank you for being here. Thank you for looking me up on Podmatch. So a shout out to Podmatch, which I'm getting some great people,
Yep.
some great entrepreneurs, business people, artists. People from all walks of nature, which is fantastic. So Kyle, thank you for being here again. How are you? How's the family? How's the weather on the West Coast over there?
Yeah, we're good. One of my daughters is off at a camp at a beautiful location off on the peninsula in Washington State, and she's having the
Okay.
time of her life. First time we've ever kicked her out to a camp before. She's 10, so she's
Wow.
first adventure in that way. She spent the night at places and done various camps, but not
Oh,
overnight
that's
for for 4 nights. So that's a
Yeah.
stretch for us. It's a stretch for her. She's riding horses and playing games and all that. And
Wow.
we're having a good time
Well,
here without her, trying to
yeah,
make her
that's
jealous.
that's so funny because actually my wife and my daughter right now on vacation in Colombia. My daughter's 10 years old and she's also riding horses.
Oh,
And
cool.
'cause that's something big over there, Colombia, South America with horses. And for her, it's a whole different world. So it's so good because at 10, they're going to be able to remember those memories, right? And it's going to be a learning experience for them. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I challenged my daughter before she left. I said, "Hey, if there's something that you can do there and it seems a little bit scary, go ahead and do it because you'll never regret doing it, but you will regret not doing it." And I told her that, and hopefully she follows my advice because I bet you and I could talk about looking back on our lives and going, man, I wish I would have done whatever it was. And then, of course, we can look
Wow.
back and go, man, I'm so glad I did that one thing.
Yeah, that's true. Wow. Well, let's jump right into that. When you were young, I always say that we're entrepreneurs were born always. We were born, we just come to find out later in life that we were entrepreneurs. That's why I'm saying, like, because if someone says, "Hey, Angel, do you think entrepreneur was born or was he raised into it?" I think we were born entrepreneurs. Is that later in life we find out the talent that we have within. So, with that being said, when you were that young entrepreneur, what were your goals, right? What was something that you admired of becoming or doing in life that you maybe you regret and say, "Oh man, I never got to do this," but maybe you're doing it now.
Yeah, I think my dad owns an orange farm in the Central Valley of California, and it's not a farm little thing, hundreds of acres. He and his brother run multiple thousand acres of oranges, packing and shipping across the world. And I grew up under that experience, watching my dad get up at 5 in the morning, work till 6 at night, doing that life. But also at the same time, he had a lot of freedom because he's an entrepreneur. So he had freedom to do what he wanted to in the middle of the day and kind of dictate his schedule to a certain degree. I mean, when it comes to farming, the land dictates and God dictates what happens quite a bit.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
experiencing that, working in that when I was a young teenager and a little bit as a preteen, I realized that that's not what I wanted to do, but it lit a fire that I didn't know existed. So kind of like what you were saying earlier, it lit a fire that I didn't know exist to be an entrepreneur. So that was one of the
okay.
first things. My dad was the first mentor in the process, and then I had other mentors along the way.
Okay. Okay. So when you finish, like, let's try to go through that journey. When you finish high school, like, did you go to college? Was college something that was part of your journey? Would you say, did you finish it? Is there something there that we should learn about before to what you got to where you are today, as far as like the mindset coaching?
Yeah, I remember when I was in my senior year of college, I went to Cal Poly, which is a school on the coast of California. It's known for engineering, architecture, and business. I was none of those. I was in
Okay.
theology, so I was going to become a physical therapist or a personal trainer or something like that. And I'd somehow messed up in the process of taking classes. I was behind in school, and I didn't even know it. I was doing okay in school. I was getting mostly B's and A's, but my senior year, I think I was 6 or so, maybe even 9 units behind. Whatever it was not pretty, and I had one quarter to make it up. And I did not want to go to school in the fall of the next year. I wanted to be done with college after 4 years. I loved my college experience, but I hated school. Right, my college experience was beautiful, but school sucked, and
Yeah.
because I studied so much, and I'm really not that smart, book smart wise. It's more of the
Yeah.
experience stuff for me. But anyway, I remember being in my apartment and I shared a room with my best friend, and we had two twin beds, butted foot to foot, really tiny room, two different desks where we did our work in the closets. And I remember sitting at that desk. It was a makeshift desk out of 2x4s and a big slab of plywood. And I was sitting there talking to my parents on the phone saying, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. And at that time, I had gone on a hike with some friends and got myself
Mhm.
covered in poison oak. So from my ankles to my neck,
Wow.
I literally had poison oak all over me, and I was 30 pounds overweight. So I was a dumpster fire, if you will. I was a mess, and I felt like I had nothing to offer. I had nothing to give.
And you're
And
about what age is this? Like
so
early 20s?
I'd be 22 at that time. Yeah,
Okay.
so
Okay.
22 complete. I was just distraught, but my parents, they kind of encouraged me on that call. And then I remember a couple things happened. I made a commitment to lose the weight, made a
Mm,
commitment to change my lifestyle as it had to do with eating. And I was ripped prior to that. I was in great shape, but I was just so stressed about life after college and what it was going to be because I just didn't know. So then I get a
wow.
phone call from a buddy. I'd gone to India with him and several other people on a missions trip. And he calls me up and he says, "Hey, Kyle, there's this job opportunity at this men's mentoring program. Would you be interested in checking it out?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? What is this men's mentoring program?" So he explains to me that it's this program called Alpha Academy, still exists, that helps guys 18 to 25 that are off track in life get traction to learn
Mm,
life skills and everything. So I say, "Yeah, that sounds interesting." So I get the job not the job opportunity. I get the interview opportunity, and I drive over to the property, which is 40 acres, beautiful property. And I drive on, go over this little creek, and you pull onto the property, and there's a bunch of dogs in chain link fences, and they're just barking at me. Well, it turns out that the way the nonprofit supported itself was through a pet resort. And so I was like, "Oh, okay, that's what's going on there." Pulled on the rest of the property, and there's this green grass, American flag, and this white farmhouse built in the 1880s. It's just this idyllic setting. I get out of the car and I walk into the door, knock on the door. They let me in, and we have an hour and a half long conversation. So Jack is the president of the program, and Christian was the director at the time. Have this conversation, and at the end of the conversation, this doesn't normally happen. I don't know for those that are listening that have done interviews. Normally, you don't get offered the job after one interaction with the people. They said,
no.
"Hey, would you be interested in the job?" And I'm going, I don't know, because what it meant was I would live there and I would live with guys up to 6 dudes that are 18 to 25 that have drug and alcohol histories in a lot of cases. I don't
Yeah.
have that history. I drank a little bit, but I don't have that type of history. A lot of them had broken homes. I don't have that history either. I'm very fortunate to not have that history. I'm not like, "Whoa, look at me, I'm special." It's just
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate to not have that history. And I'm going, "Wow, that's a big deal." But I remember feeling like someone was pushing me down, hands on my shoulders, into the couch I was sitting on. Like I belonged there. And I told Jack that. And I said, "Yeah, I'll take the job." So then I graduate college and I move into this facility, and I worked there in varying roles for 10 years. And so for 10 years I mentored guys that were that age range. And
Wow.
I absolutely loved it. But then in the time frame I was also mentored by Jack, the president of the program.
Yeah.
And that place, I mean, I could tell you more in a minute here, but that place, it's changed hundreds of lives, and especially mine.
Hmm. That's amazing. So being that you were looking for a change in life, right? So that's pretty much what got you into that connection. Then you start meeting and helping. Now you mentioned about helping others. How did you start helping others?
Yeah, so you in the program, so I'll go through the program a little bit and then jump forward to a little bit more towards today. But
Okay.
well, first of all, I want to mention that I did lose the weight and I ended up running a half marathon, and
Okay.
and it was
That's important.
great because I was being a good example to these guys. That you
Okay.
can be disciplined and all those things.
Exactly.
And it worked great because I ran like a 1 hour and 37-minute half marathon, which apparently is really fast. And
Yeah.
I'm not a runner, so that was really cool. Some of the guys ran with me periodically, so there's a lot of cool stuff that happened there. But my
Okay.
role was to help them through teaching them, asking questions, all that kind of stuff. And the whole time that I was there, like I said, Jack mentored me. And what that meant was every Tuesday, I'm pretty sure it's Tuesdays, every Tuesday at about 11 or 11:30, we'd go to lunch and we'd meet for an hour and a half. And he'd mentor me on my life, on what business is, because I ran the pet resort that was there. And then eventually I ran the whole program. So he taught me how to run business, how to run a nonprofit, all those
Wow.
things. So I experienced an MBA, if you will, through
Yeah.
one-to-one meetings every single day for almost 10 years, or every single week, excuse me, almost for 10
Okay.
years. It's truly,
Yeah.
truly remarkable.
It
And
is. I mean, you don't get to meet too many people in your life that want to give you that type of knowledge, and you're not paying for it. I mean, it's just given. It's
he
like
was
he's a
paying
counselor.
me
Yes. That's amazing.
when he's, 30,
Wow.
he's run 30 businesses in his life, was a multimillionaire by the time he was in his 40s. and really successful. He started the program and retired when he was in his, I think, late 40s or early 50s, and just is still in that program. He's now almost 80 and he's still running that program.
Wow.
And so I was super fortunate to be mentored. And I know this podcast is about mindset, and but mentorship is really huge. Coaching and mentorship is what shifted my life in incredible ways. And so after at a certain point, I got married, had a child, and then we had a second child on the way. And then we were going, what are we going to do? Are we going to continue to live on the coast? No family is close to us. Family was 3 hours or 19 hours away. And so we needed to decide what we're going to do. And I don't know if anybody that's listening is in one of those places where they're like, what are we going to do? This is a big decision. It's a fork in the road that will change your life forever. Because at that time it was quit the ministry, quit the nonprofit thing, which I loved.
Yeah.
Go back home and work for my dad, which I love my parents. I love my dad, and we would have worked great together, but it's just not my field. Or go up to the unknown in Washington and be close to my wife's family. And ultimately we took that fork in the road and went up to Washington. But it was one of the most difficult decisions of my life, because I was giving up a bunch of things and going to the complete unknown. And unfortunately, we got here and I applied. How many jobs was it? I applied to 50 jobs before I got an interview. Wow. It was awful. I'm like, I have 10 years of management experience. I doubled the revenue of this business, and I've worked with all these people and nobody gave a crap. And I'm like, this sucks.
And what year was this? We're talking about what? 2014. 14. Okay.
Yeah. So finally I get a job in a senior living place. Horrible, absolute trash job. People, the residents were great, and the direct people I worked with were good, but the overarching, the white collar folks, or whatever you want to call them, that were running the place, C-suite
for management,
they were terrible. They were, at one point they came in and told us that we were stupid and that we could never figure this out. And they actually locked us into the facility at one point until 11 p.m. at night. And I'm like, exactly. We
hostage.
We couldn't leave until we got some contracts figured out with the residents that lived there, and straightened out some stuff. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And I was one of I think 10 or 12 different executive directors of the program over the course of 4 years. So it wasn't me.
Yeah.
I can guarantee that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was horrible. Wow. Then I applied to 40 jobs and finally got a job in HR at a church. And that's when my life changed, because I finally got to be exposed to what I wanted to do, because I wanted to do this mentoring, this coaching type stuff. And when I got to the HR position, I got to start to develop people again. And I wasn't doing that in anything prior. And during that development, I got exposed to personality assessments, and then I became certified in some assessments, and it was very natural for me. I'm very good at them. It's a gift that I have. Right. Yeah. So then I started teaching it, and I started doing workshops, and I went, I'll quit this low-paying HR job and start my business. So I started my business, got coaching certification through a few different places, and rock and rolled from there. So my journey was not one that was clearly entrepreneurial. There's some other businesses that I ran in the process of all that, but ultimately it was wired into me because of my dad and watching him. Okay. And it's been a great journey. I wouldn't take any of it back, even those crappy circumstances working at that senior place for all those applications. It was all worth it.
But hey, here you are today. But it's good. That's a good point, because what I learned from what you're just saying now is that it was born within you to be that type of mentor, counselor, whatever you want to call it, but you always that connection with people. So you work well with people, and that's very important. So let's go ahead and get into the SAGE mindset. Now, you said the SAGE stands for what now?
Yeah, so SAGE stands for self-awareness, accountability, growth, and empowerment. And that came out of, you could say, a vision, but I'd started my business, and I knew that I needed to create my own thing that I could own and do what I want with.
Right.
In fact, I'm getting it trademarked because I want it to be mine. Nobody else can have it, darn it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, and I love that.
I love acronyms. And as we continue talking, I'll probably bring up some more acronyms, but I love acronyms, and I was struggling to come up with some sort of a framework that could be mine and that could be easily remembered. And I remember one morning, 3 a.m. in the morning, I wake up to a voice saying self awareness. And that was
Mm.
the word I needed to complete the acronym, because before I had a bunch of just jumbled letters that didn't make any sort of sense.
Yeah.
So I jump, literally, I'm jumping out of bed, running into the kitchen just in my boxers. And from 3 a.m. to 7 a.m., I'm sitting there at the kitchen table shivering as I'm writing out the beginning of the SAGE framework. And from there, it's turned into a lot of different things, to an app, to a book, to all kinds of different things.
Yeah.
But foundationally, what it is that I want the listeners and you, Angel, to picture a house, a leadership house, metaphorically
Okay.
speaking here. And the foundation of anybody's leadership, of a SAGE leader, is self-awareness. Without
Okay.
self-awareness, you can't build any sort of leadership, and you can't grow or anything like that yourself. So that's your foundation. Accountability is the nails that holds that leadership house together. Without accountability, no matter how beautiful the structure looks, it's like a whitewashed tomb. It'll crumble on itself, and it's a problem. So
Yeah.
having those nails that keeps it together is really key. Then growth is the walls and the roof. And this is the idea that there's times in our leadership where we need to remodel and adjust our leadership house, because we're growing, or the people we're interacting with need to grow too, or there's different skills that are coming along. And so you remodel, you adjust. And then also the roof, at some point, your house gets bigger. And I know that kind of breaks the metaphor, but you blow the
Yeah.
roof off and you grow your leadership, you raise the lid of your leadership and get to new levels. And that means there's more people that can be underneath your roof, underneath your influence, in other words. Then
Okay.
finally, empowerment is the windows and doors. Empowerment is, it's where people can see into your leadership and walk into it. You know, they see the influence that you have and the impact you're having on the employees that you have, and they want to participate. They're like, I want, what are they up to? That looks really interesting. And they get to observe it. It's glass house leadership, where you're letting people in on your secrets and what's going on. But
Okay.
the catch is, if you have windows and doors in a house, you can go into them and you can go out of them. Right? You can look out of them or walk out of them.
Mm.
And so SAGE leaders, they empower people so much so that certain people that they're empowering actually leave. They leave, but the SAGE leader is more than happy to have them leave, because they know the potential of that person will not reach its full blossoming when they're
Right.
under their own roof. So they need to go create their own leadership.
Mm.
So that's the full picture of the SAGE
Okay.
framework. And this is really the pillars of how I coach my clients.
Okay. So it's is it self accountability,
So
growth,
self-awareness,
self awareness,
accountability,
okay,
growth, and empowerment. And they're all four
empowerment.
different mindsets, really. Self-awareness
Yeah.
mindset, so on.
Okay. Okay. Great. So what would someone expect? Like if I see they have the website there on sagemindset.com. Like someone goes to that website, what would someone expect when they go to that website? Like what's the whole concept of it?
Yeah, my job is to be a thinking partner to my clients,
Okay.
because most one of the most common things that I'm discovering with my clients is, there's really three of them. One is they struggle to give themselves the time to think and strategize and look at their situation from a different angle, because they're in it, they're busy, they're overwhelmed. The number two piece is people struggle to stay present. Most of my clients have a battle that they're experiencing, where they're concerned about the future of their business, and they're doing work towards that, and that's good, but they're so focused on it that they're not present enough to deal with this current situations. And other clients are focused on the past. What happened? What worked? Frustrations of the past, or irritations of the past, whatever. And that
Okay.
prevents them from being present. And thirdly, a lot of my clients struggle with systems. They don't have good systems in place. And if you want to ever sell your business, you have to have great systems in place, because you have to be replaceable. If you're not replaceable, you cannot sell your business. You're just running a job instead of running a business. And often young entrepreneurs are running a job, not running a business. And that's okay, because you're
Yeah.
just starting. But if you're in your 50s and 60s, like some of my clients, and you're still running a job, that's a big problem, because you can't retire
Mhm.
by running a job. So my job is to help them think, help them keep accountability, and help them to build those systems that will unlock them from
Exactly.
being chained to their business.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and actually, I always say, because especially when I hear any type of coaching, I've met other coaches. I always say that you're like when we mention the word clients, um, they have to put on their own from their side too, right? Because there's only so much you can do, right? You could take, it's like I don't know if they say you could take a mule to a pond, but you can't make them drink water, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's like this, they have to put on their part. Like, what challenges do you maybe have seen in the past or currently seen in that ballpark? Like, what challenges you see that people they get frustrated or they want to quit on themselves?
It really, it goes back to systems.
Okay,
It's people, they know what to do. They really do. They know what to
right.
do, but they don't have good systems in place or good people in place, or they haven't trained their people well enough. So
Okay.
then they get so busy that they take on the work themselves. They start doing the work themselves instead of training their people to do the work and empowering them to do the work and growing them to do the work. And systems require a lot of accountability, but the leader isn't self-aware enough to recognize that they're taking on all that work and really enabling in a bad way their team, or
Okay.
disabling them, I guess you could say, their team. Because one of the things that I find very interesting or amusing at times is when owners come to me and they're like, "I'm so tired of people asking me the same questions. They're stupid." They don't say they're stupid, but basically, how do they not know this is what you're supposed to do? I've told them dozens of times, and I
Mm,
go, "Have you asked them instead of telling them?" And like, "What do you mean?" So many leaders, no matter how old they are, don't ask their employees questions.
questions.
They tell them all the time. They tell them what to do. They micromanage, and this creates a lot of issues.
Yes.
Because I heard from somebody else. He said this, and I loved it. He said, "These types of leaders, they farm out their. These types of employees will farm out their thinking to the leaders." In other words, if I'm an employee and I have a problem and I give it to you and you always solve it for me, I'm going to continue to farm out my problems to you, so I don't have to think. I don't have to work as hard.
Uh huh.
But that's not very rewarding for the employee, and it's really frustrating for the business owner. So I
Yeah.
challenge them to start asking deep, open-ended questions. And well, they don't even have to be deep. They can be pretty basic.
No, exactly. Because you just
Some
want
of
to discover. What we're trying to do is trying to discover, not discover, help that person discover what he has
Yes,
within
yep,
themselves.
yes, and that's exactly right. Because you can coach them to solve problems. What you really want to do though is you coach the person. You don't want to coach the problem. You want to coach the person, because if you coach
That's
the
right.
person, then you're coaching their brain, not their hands. They can figure
Exactly.
it out if you coach their brain. If you coach their hands, then you're still thinking for them. You coach their brain, and they're going to be a whole different employee, and they're going to love working for you. Even if you can't pay them very well, they're going to love working for you
Exactly.
because they're becoming a better person. And there's
That's
hardly
right.
anybody in the world that doesn't want to become a better person. I mean, there's some
Exactly.
people are just flat out jerks and lazy, but those
Yeah.
aren't the people that any of you are going to hire. I would hope, young entrepreneurs out
Right.
there.
Yeah. So Kyle, what's for you the word mindset, right? Because we're talking about the podcast mindset, mindset coaching. When I created this podcast, there was already a young entrepreneur podcast. There was an entrepreneur business podcast, and I said I wanted something different, like just like what you with that attitude that you said when you want to trademark you. I want it mine. I don't
Yeah,
want nobody. I
yeah,
want that when you Google search mine comes up first, and I that happened to mine. It's a blessing from the sky because, listen. So when I said young entrepreneur, and I said mindset, like it was just something in me that said mindset, and the mindset, even on myself, is I work my mindset like every day. Like I've been doing this podcast for like over a year, and to me, mindset is everything because when you talk about mindset, if you have the right mindset, you're gonna have the right marriage. If you have the right mindset, you're going to have the right finances. If you have the right mindset, I mean, everything is going to align according to what you're destined to have and destined to be. So, what is Kyle Gillette's opinion, or what is your thoughts about the importance about mindset?
yeah. Mindset is those pathways. It's the pathways that we've created in our brains, whether on purpose or not. And when you have a sage mindset or a young entrepreneurial mindset, you're being intentional about your mindsets, and you're
Mm,
becoming aware of them. That's why, for me, the foundation of great leadership is self-awareness. Because if I'm not aware of where my mindsets are out of bounds, or not lining up with my values or lining up at all, then I can't adjust those pathways. All of us
okay.
have pathways in our brains, and I literally mean pathways.
Okay.
neuron pathways in our brains that are messed up, that they're not right. And I don't mean because of abuse or anything like that. In some cases it's true, but mostly what I'm talking about is just these little tweaks to our pathways that will make us think differently. One of them, just to give you an example, is the difference between I get to and I have to. In
Mm,
business, often we can say, oh, I have to have this conversation. I have to talk to this client, or I have to have this sales call, or I have to meet with this employee, or I have to have this meeting, et cetera, et cetera. But the mindset shift, the pathway change. So instead of going down this freeway of negativity, you can go down this narrow path of positivity, which is I get to meet with this employee and help them deal with the problem that they're struggling with their performance. I get to have this conversation with the client, et cetera, et cetera. And that little shift makes all the difference in the world. And
okay.
in my book, I have about 20 different mindsets that I talk about in the book. There's 5 per pillar, so 5 per each of the areas of SAGE that I
Okay.
break down very specifically to help people know what are the 5 mindsets I need to create self-awareness. What are the 5 mindsets I need to create accountability, so on and so forth.
Okay.
And there's not just one mindset, right? There's a lot of different pathways that we need to be made
Absolutely.
aware of, and then
Yeah.
continually choose to follow those pathways. And how do you do it? Habits. Because
Mm,
ultimately we're a bundle of habits. That's what we are. The
yeah.
way you sleep, the way you get up in the morning, the way you brush your teeth, shower, eat, we're a bundle of habits.
Everything. Yeah.
If you're aware of your habits and you want to change them, you change those habits and you can change your mindset. And the opposite is true too. If you change your
Mm,
mindset, you can change your habits.
exactly.
And you've got to be paying attention. And that's why accountability is so key, because other people give you that feedback that say, hey, Kyle, that way you're talking, or the way that you interacted with that person, or the way you're approaching this, have you considered maybe this is a different way you can do it? That kind of accountability, that kind of
Mm,
feedback allows you to make shifts in your own mindset. And there's all kinds of things we could talk about there, but
yeah. Yeah.
that's
That's
a
awesome.
couple examples.
No, that's very clear, man. I love that. I love that. So just to conclude a little bit on this episode, and this is great material, by the way. I mean, you're bringing so much great stuff here. I love it. Um, so let's say a client, because we're using the word client, right? You know that you work with clients and whatnot. So just for the benefit of someone who's probably listening now, may be interested in contacting you, what how do you start, right? How do you, what's the first thing that you focus? I mean, maybe you start with the questions, etc. So someone approaches you, say, hey, Kyle, I'm interested in your program, I want you to, coach me. So how does that work for them?
Yeah, for me, I want people to experience my coaching before they pay for my coaching. Not because I devalue my coaching, but because I value them and I value our coaching relationship, eventual coaching relationship.
Okay.
So I do a demo. It's 30 minutes to an hour, depending on whatever's going on. And I do a real coaching conversation with them about a real situation that they're dealing with. And when I talk about coaching, I'm not saying that you and I, Angel, have a conversation about your podcast and I tell you what to do. No, we have a conversation about your podcast, and I ask you, where do you want your podcast to be in 3 years from now? And you answer that question. Then I coach you around how to help you get there, but I don't tell you what to do. That's consulting. That's not my job. Because again, I want to empower my clients. I want to empower you to come up with
Exactly.
the answers yourself, think for yourself, build that accountability yourself, so on and so forth. So that's the first
Okay.
thing. And with that, I'm meeting with people consistently. I'm basically just available to my clients. We set up a specific time that we meet, but I'm available to them. There's some processes that I walk them through. I do a
Yep.
personality assessment to kind of, it's a cheat code to get to know them quickly,
Yeah.
for them to get to know themselves, et cetera, et cetera. But fundamentally, it's about what is the goal that my client has? What's that big goal that they want to achieve during the time that we work together? And then I coach the person to help them get to that goal, because they're the ones that
Okay.
have to do the work. I can't do it
Yeah,
for them,
I'm 100% for that. Yes.
and I can't tell them what to do, because when I do tell people what to do, because sometimes I do, it rarely falls well. It doesn't. It usually falls
Yeah.
flat. Instead
Yeah.
of instead of like, oh my gosh, you're so brilliant, Kyle. No, it's like, okay, and then we move on, and
Yeah.
I go, man, I shouldn't have said anything. So
Yeah. Because you
it's
could
not that I
suggest it.
right.
I could suggest it, because then if someone falls on it and says, "Oh, you're so brilliant, great idea," and then if it doesn't work, oh, you know what, your idea
It's
didn't
my
work.
fault.
Uh
Yep.
huh.
But if
A
my
scapegoat.
failure, if I fail them, they don't learn. But if they fail themselves, even though it's the same idea that we arrived at, they're going to learn
Awesome.
so much more instead. And even better, if they succeed through their own ideas, then that's very good as well.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a learning process, man. Life is a learning process.
Yeah.
So listen, just to finish, but you said mentioned a book. Did you have said that you have a book that's coming out?
Yeah. So I have a book that's going to publish in August called Sage Leadership,
August.
and it's a
Okay.
four-part framework to becoming a people first leader. Because
Oh,
fundamentally, that's what a sage leader is they put other people first. You can call it servant leadership if you want, but it's putting other
okay.
people first, because
That's
your
awesome.
productivity depends on the people around you, whether you're a solopreneur or an entrepreneur, whether you have one
Okay.
employee or 100 employees. It
Yeah.
depends on the people that you align yourself with. And if you
Okay.
can learn how to lead people well, not just yourself, but other people well, you're going to find success, and not just financially. You're going to find success in a way that's satisfying. So that's what the book's about. It's
Exactly.
about the mindsets and habits to get there.
Okay. And that's gonna be available on your website or Amazon
Yeah,
Kindle.
yeah. It's
Okay.
Amazon, Ingram Spark, Barnes and Noble,
Okay.
various, just everywhere.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And also, I know you're on Twitter, so guys, if you want to follow Kyle, he's under Kyle Gillette dash business coach. So he's also on Twitter and all of the social media platforms. But follow his website, guys, because I know that I'm hoping that this platform will help you bring some clients to you, because and in this business, that's what you need. You need clients, and I know it's not just for the money wise. It's I know that you're a natural born leader that likes to develop and help other people grow as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, one of the best places for people to connect with me is on Facebook. If they
Okay.
and I'm also on TikTok too. So
Oh, cool.
I'm
On the Kyle Gillette.
what is TikTok? It's Sage Leadership. I'm pretty sure it's what it's called. But
Okay.
you could look me up on TikTok as well.
Okay.
But the Facebook one is Sage Mindset Coaching is where
Sage mindset coaching.
you'll find me
I'm gonna
on
look
there.
that up right now. Mindset coaching. Yeah, I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna follow. Definitely follow you on Facebook if I haven't, and also send you a friend request as well. So, Kyle, what's the last? I want to leave you with with the open mic. Last words. What do you want to say out there to any young entrepreneur that's listening now, or anyone who is in mindset coaching, and maybe to also for maybe coaches that are out there that, because I believe that on both ends there's struggle too, because you're trying to get clients. We work with one client and
Yep.
then things fall apart, right? And that builds frustration on the coach. I mean, I think coach have a big responsibility as well. So what
Yep.
words can you say to conclude this?
Yeah, I would say that stop talking about being a imposter. Lots of young entrepreneurs talk about being an imposter. Instead, embrace that you are an imposter, because you are, just like I am in various areas. Not in all areas. I'm not an imposter in all areas, and neither are you. And I think what we need to do is embrace that imposter. If you don't feel like an imposter, you're not growing yourself enough. You're not stretching yourself enough. So embrace that imposter. And what that means is go and talk to people that feel out of your league, that feel like they're above and beyond what you think you're capable of, or who you think you should be able to connect to. Embrace that, go for it, mess it up and learn from it and try it again. Be an imposter, because that's the only way you're really going to make it in your business. You can't sit behind and be that keyboard warrior. It's not going to work. You got to get to the right people, and that requires taking some risk. So
Absolutely.
embrace it. It's worth it. It's fun. And that's what I wish I would have known in my first year of business. I was
Exactly.
using that as an excuse, and then I didn't reach out to people, and I was a keyboard warrior, and I sat behind the screen and thought I could run a business like that. It's not how it works, especially
Wow.
for my business.
Yeah. Well, hey, Kyle, man, Mr. Kyle Gillette, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. Thank you for your words, man. Your words are definitely something to keep rethinking about them and use them. So I appreciate your time, and thank you so much for being on this podcast, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Angel. I appreciate it too.
No problem, Kyle. We'll be keeping in touch, and I'm definitely going to follow you on social media. Okay, so don't go nowhere. Okay.
All righty.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. All right, folks. So there you have it, man. Kyle Gillette. Follow him on Twitter, Facebook. Look up under sagemindset.com. go ahead and subscribe to his information, man. He's gonna have a book coming out in August, so I'm looking forward to that book as well. So, guys, I hope you found this information very informative. I hope it helped you in any way. If it did in any way, listen, leave us a comment. Leave me a comment. And I'm gonna have his link also on the YouTube channel, his website, all his information on there as well. So you could go ahead and just click it and follow him and get in touch with him. Okay, so he's available. All right, he's available. He's open to any type of help that you need. Okay, so you heard it from him himself. So thank you guys again for tuning in to the Young Entrepreneur Mindset podcast. And before we leave, I do want to leave you with a positive note. You know, scripture, one of my favorite scriptures, and it's under Matthew 4:4, and it says, Jesus answered, and he said, "It was written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." All right. So there you have it. Blessings to all of you. I'll see you on the next episode of the Young Entrepreneur Mindset, guys. Be safe, and I'll see you soon. Thank you. Take care.